everyone. Welcome back to Cincinnati Zoo Tales. I'm Jenna.
And I'm Mark. Thanks to all the listeners for tuning in to another episode. Jenna, this episode has been a long time coming, I feel like. It's been literally years in the making, so we're really excited to have this episode. We got two great guests lined up. We're being joined by Tara Lay, who's the head keeper of their North America habitat. Tara's been on the podcast before, so she's probably a familiar voice you'll recognize. But we're also being joined by Erin Bell, who is actually an animal care specialist at the Aquarium of the Pacific, which is where our new sea otters just came from. So, Erin, you're only in town, until tomorrow, I think? So, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have you here and be able to have, somebody who cared for our new otters here to tell us a little bit more about them. And I've mentioned this on the podcast before. If I were going to leave the Africa department, I would want to do North America for mostly the sea otters. But all of the recovery programs and things you guys get to be a part of is so cool. But we want to hear so much from you, Erin. But for now, Tara, can you give everybody an update on Sea Otter Coast? How did this all get started? It's been a minute because we had some construction.
Yeah, absolutely. If you are a frequent fan of the Cincinnati Zoo, you know that we've had a lot of construction going for a few years to renovate our Black Bear Ridge and our Sea Otter Coast habitats, and now we're finally open with both of them. We've been really excited to open up the zoo's new saltwater habitat. It's currently the only saltwater exhibit that we have at Cincinnati Zoo. So it's been a really big, awesome learning experience for me too. I've never gotten to work with saltwater, but we have two very cute babies that are living in this new habitat, and that is Chloe and Kevin. They just arrived this week. They're settling in really nicely, exploring all about, and really making use of our good enrichment. So it is nice and validating that we bought the correct toys, but we've been having a great time welcoming them home.
Well, this is a little off topic, but you guys just had so much change happen.
Yes,
you have,
I was thinking the same thing.
7 new animals all within the span of
technically
a month-ish?
8. We also had a skunk. Yeah, technically 8. 3 manatees, 2 bears, 2 sea otters, and a little skunk who we cannot forget.
Oh my gosh, crazy. So we'll hear about those animals again on another episode. But Chloe and Kevin, the best names ever.
Adorable. Yeah.
Sea otters are adorable. I don't know if there's anything cuter. And okay, I'm going to have you guys tell us a little bit about their personalities, their ages, that sort of thing first before we get into sea otter facts and such.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Chloe is a 13-year-old female sea otter. So she has been with us since she was rescued as an orphaned sea otter pup, as a stranded sea otter pup. And we also have Kevin, who is much younger, at just a little over a year and a half, coming up on 2 years old.
And these guys, they've been living together for a little while now, so they kind of know each other. What are their social dynamics like?
Yeah, so they've been living together since Kevin came to the Aquarium of the Pacific to join us. And sea otters have interesting social structures in that they don't necessarily have lasting strong bonds, but they do want to be around other sea otters. So you'll see them kind of grooming near each other, maybe sleeping near each other, but they'll also spend plenty of time apart, kind of keeping their own space.
Do you notice personality differences in them?
Yes. So Chloe and Kevin especially, I think, are very different sides of the sea otter range. Chloe is the most calm, patient otter I have ever worked with. And Kevin is a young male otter, and he can be a little bit more chaotic than Chloe can. But sea otters in general, they are very energetic, they're very smart, they're very mischievous, and it makes them a really fun challenge to work with. You have to keep those minds active. They really like solving puzzles. Kevin especially, if he sees a new object, he's gonna want to take it. He wants it for his own. He's gonna want to see if he can break it.
That is so fun. Yeah, I feel a little bit unique. There are obviously other species that are like that, but
it's got to keep you on your toes too.
Yes.
Keeps you from making mistakes.
Yeah, part of the reason I'm here is to make sure that the North America team is ready to work with another species of otter that's just a little bit bigger than your North American river otters.
Can you tell us the size difference? How big are sea otters?
So, if I'm going to do my math correctly, so Sugar and Wesley are roughly about 18 to 22 pounds. And then we have Chloe and Kevin, who are 46 and 59 pounds.
Wow. So
over 2 to 3 times the size.
Yeah, 2 to 3 times. Yeah, and then northern sea otters get even bigger, which we do have southerns. And then our Asian small-clawed otters here are even smaller, so we now have quite the variety here.
And Kevin, as a male otter, is still growing. He will get a little bit bigger. They can get up to around 75 pounds. And then just for imagining it, they are about 3 to 5 feet long, depending on the otter.
Right, I was shocked. Like, I was so happy. I went down, like, first thing as soon as I could the other day, and he was standing up at one point, like, he's like 5 feet. I mean, he's not 5 feet tall, but he was way bigger than I expected.
Like 2/3 of my height.
Yeah.
It's like a child. Like the size of a
Yeah,
kid.
they're the biggest otter species by weight, but like giant Amazonian river otters tend to be a little bit longer than them.
Yeah,
That's really
Kevin was
interesting.
huge.
You mentioned Kevin is almost 2 and Chloe is 13. What is like a typical lifespan for them, and when do they hit like maturity? I guess because you said
Yeah.
Kevin's still growing.
Yeah, for sea otters, from my memory, they have been seen reproducing as early as like 2 to 3 years old. Definitely like 3 and up is more common for the females and the males. And then for their lifespans under human care, they've been seen living into their 20s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but out in the wild, that tends to be a little bit less. I believe like 10 to 15 is more common out in the wild. But sea otters have a lot of needs that they need to meet, specifically how much food they need to eat. And as an animal ages, that becomes more and more difficult.
I just realized we didn't hear like about your background. You mentioned we got excited, and I skipped your background.
It's easy to jump the gun
yes.
talking about Kevin and Chloe.
Yes. And you mentioned that they had been stranded and they were orphaned, and so that, I mean, there's a lot that goes into that, and I have questions about that. But how did you get to be a caretaker of these? And like, was there a special sort of, education or anything that you needed to go through, or what steps did you what did you take to get to where you are?
Yeah, so I got my bachelor's degree in environmental science and zoology. I always knew I wanted to end up working around the ocean, hopefully with animals if I could manage it. And then after college, the first thing I did was actually a internship with the Marine Mammal Care Center, which is a marine mammal rescue and rehabilitation center in Southern California, not very far away from the Aquarium of the Pacific. Where they do rescue and rehabilitation for California sea lions, harbor seals, northern fur seals, and northern elephant seals.
That sounds fun.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Just the elephant seal pups, though, not the big adults. And so that was a really good look into different species of marine mammals and just what it takes to care for them. And then after that, I had a few jobs working with marine mammals around the country. And then a few years ago, I was able to come back to the Aquarium of the Pacific and start in my role I currently have, which was really exciting because that's actually the aquarium I grew up going to.
That's awesome.
And so being able to return there and help inspire other people to fall in love with the marine life like I did is really exciting.
Do you specifically take care of sea otters, or what is your job?
Yeah, so
entail?
I take care of a few different species. So I am more mammal focused, so I work with our sea otters and then our seals and our sea lions. And then I also get to help out with our diving birds. So we have some horned puffins, some tufted puffins, and some pigeon guillemots that I work with.
Awesome.
That's a pretty good variety, yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm really curious, at the Aquarium Pacific, how many sea otters do you guys have? Like, is it a pretty robust population?
It varies.
Here? Okay.
So depending on whether there are animals in need, we can have anywhere from 5 to, I think, 10 is the most we had while I was here. But we are able to help these orphan stranded sea otter pups, and then some of them don't stay with us forever like Kevin. He goes and is an ambassador for his species at other facilities like the Cincinnati Zoo because he was deemed non-releasable as a young pup. He is not a candidate to go back out into the wild, but he is able to help teach people just how incredible this species is and how important they are to their ecosystems.
Was Chloe also unreleasable, or how does that work out?
She was
Okay.
also deemed unreleasable when she stranded. As a pup, all of those decisions are up to U.S. Fish and Wildlife. But if a pup is releasable, they will do their best to rehabilitate it and have it go back out into the wild. Some of the factors that go into it are whether or not they socialize like a normal otter. Are they able to eat efficiently? I don't know if you guys know, but sea otters need to eat about 20 to 30% of their own body weight every day.
Wow.
So like you can imagine Chloe around 50 pounds, that's 10 to 15 pounds of seafood every day. So if they cannot efficiently feed themselves and they cannot efficiently groom the incredible fur that they have, which is actually the densest of any animal on the planet, they are unlikely to be successful. And those are all skills that are taught to them by their mother. So if they don't have a mother to raise them, if they are orphaned, sometimes they are not able to get those skills and survive.
Now, not a fun topic, but what are the most likely causes for an orphaned sea otter or for the strandings?
Yeah, there are a few different ones. Some of the bigger ones are like a predation event. Their main predators are going to be great white sharks, occasionally orcas, depending on where they're living. And then the other factors can be like a bad weather. So sea otter moms will leave their pups on the surface of the water while they go down to forage. Sea otter pups have their pup coat. Their fur is a little bit different, and they are very buoyant. And when they're really young, they can't swim well enough to get underwater, even if they wanted to.
Which is so bizarre that an animal is born, lives in water, and it can't swim very well to start.
Yeah, and so they'll just float up there, and the mom will leave them hanging out up there. Sometimes put them in a little bit of kelp so that they don't float away.
Is that true that they like wrap kelp around them
They
like
can
a
use
little?
the kelp. Yeah, they'll even use it when they sleep so that they don't float away, like for themselves. But the mom can go down to forage for all that food that they need, because at that point she's foraging not only for herself but also for that pup. And then sometimes in bad weather events they just don't find each other again. They get separated. Or the other one is sometimes if there's not enough resources, that mom won't be able to care for herself and that pup, and she will usually choose herself if she needs to. But luckily, the way sea otter moms and pups find each other, like if the mom has gone down to forage and they need to find each other again, is the pups scream really loud. They are incredibly loud animals, and they're very coastal. So usually there are some amazing citizens who hear that or see them and I believe they're in distress and keep their distance and call local rescues and rehabilitation centers to go out and check on them. And then when they go and look, there's no moms around for a good amount of time, then that pup can be brought into a rescue and rehabilitation center to hopefully be released back into the wild eventually.
Okay. So have you gotten to raise like some of these orphaned pups from however young they come in?
Kevin was a little bit older when he came to us, but he came to us at just a few months old. So I've been working with him since he was a pretty little animal and watched him grow and mature, remained very mischievous, but slightly less so than when he was a really little guy. And it is really cool watching them learn because they are really intelligent animals. One of my favorite that I worked with, she's still there, to be honest, we call her 944. That was her rescue number. She was the 944th otter rescued up in Monterey. And with her, watching her try and figure out how to get food out of a clam took a really long time. And so she would have this clam, someone would crack for her, and she would just hit it against the wall, and it would just be really fast, but really light, like a little woodpecker. And it would not crack that shell at all.
So she like knew the motion, but not
how.
Yeah.
It's very instinctual for an otter to hit things against other things. But for something like a clam, you have to hit it hard to get to all the food on the inside. Really fast. Yeah.
So I think we were actually chatting before we started recording this, but you mentioned at some point that the sea otter pups need their mothers to groom them because they can't groom themselves. So this is just like a selfish question. Like, does that mean if you're taking care of these orphan pups, are you just like brushing them all day? How does that work?
Yeah, if there's a really young pup that needs a little bit of assistance with its coat, it's not something that I have gotten to participate in yet because it doesn't happen super often, but we will help them groom. And really, it's just kind of like, you can brush them a little bit, agitate their fur with a towel. The way sea otter fur works is there's a top layer of guard hairs, and then the layer underneath is like very fine fur that they actually felt together. So if you see a sea otter kind of rubbing their paws on their fur, they're agitating that fur and making sure it like clumps nice and together. They're also adding air in between the layers, and that's what keeps them warm. They don't have blubber like other marine mammals do. So instead, they have that incredible high metabolism that's burning those calories from that, 10 to 15 pounds of seafood every day. And then this incredibly dense coat, the densest of any animal on our planet, that then traps air underneath that kind of like down layer. Then they warm up that air with that metabolic furnace that they have, and it helps keep them nice and warm.
It's like a puffer jacket or something.
It's exactly like that, yeah.
I guess brushing them wouldn't be. And for the record, I do not hope for any orphaned animals of any kind, but if there is one,
it's pretty cute.
You would want
to
touch it.
Yeah, they are incredibly soft, but they're not very nice, unfortunately.
How long does it
They're wild
take for the
animals.
babies to go from like this kind of baby coat into their adult coat? Like, is that a matter of weeks or months?
Yeah,
or what?
not very long. So like by the time they can, from memory, if I'm remembering right, wean from their moms, like as in be independent on their own, closer to like 8 months of age, like, and usually around a year they can be fully independent. But their fur they should be able to groom their fur before that point.
Okay.
It's more just learning how to efficiently forage and things like that.
Okay. And you've mentioned a little bit, but tell us, where you would find them along the coast, what their day looks like. They're diving for food, what are they eating, and that sort of thing.
Yeah, so southern sea otters are found in pretty much like one specific area off the coast of Monterey. Historically, for sea otters in general, their range has been from Baja, Mexico, all the way up the west coast along the Aleutian Islands towards Russia and Japan. But then with the introduction of the fur trade in the late 1700s, early 1800s, that population was severely diminished. What was in the hundreds of thousands was gone pretty much anywhere south of like Washington, Oregon area. We thought we had lost them completely because they were just hunted unsustainably. And I should say that indigenous populations hunted these animals sustainably for a long time, but their fur, being the densest of any animal, was very popular.
Very valuable, I'm
Very
sure.
incredibly, yeah. So it was usually them, beaver pelts, things like that. And so we thought we had lost them anywhere south of Washington and Oregon until they found a population in the 1920s or 1930s of just 30 to 50 individuals. There's often way more than that watching our sea otter show at the Aquarium in the Pacific, of more the people looking. And we had just these few otters that luckily they found them and began to protect them. So we have the Fur Seal Treaty of 1911, which is some of the first environmental legislation that has ever been written. That started to reduce the hunting of these animals. They also have the Marine Mammal Protection Act now that they are protected by, which makes it illegal to really do anything that might disrupt the natural behavior of a marine mammal, so that they are free to forage and groom and nurse their young and reproduce without having that interrupted by human behavior. And so that population that was just 30 to 50 has recovered really well. We're up to a little over 3,000 now.
That's incredible.
Which is really exciting.
And what, like 100, did you say it was 1920s when they found like 30 of them?
Yeah.
So it's been like 100 years.
Yeah, so really not that long. And luckily they reproduce well.
I was going to say, how many,
Yeah.
is it typically one pup that they have?
Yeah, typically one pup at a time.
And then the pups, are they, you see them like sitting on their mother's chest,
Yeah.
and so do they flip over to nurse, or like manatees nurse super crazy under the armpit or something?
Manatees.
Yeah, to be honest, all the pups I work with are orphans, so I've never really actually seen them nurse. But yeah, they do have, you can't really see on an otter because their fur is so dense, but they do have like nipples on their, a little bit lower down.
Okay. And they're just so cute. Now I'm thinking of baby otters. You always see them like upside down, so I haven't thought
So
about
sweet.
how they must nurse.
And I don't think I've said it, but my favorite thing about their fur is just how dense it is, because I think it's hard to imagine. But they have up to 1 million hairs per square inch.
That is...
So that's like 10 human heads of hair, average human heads of hair, pushed down into that one little space. And so it's so dense that their skin's dry underneath it. They're able to fully insulate from the cold water.
That is so hard to
Isn't it
picture.
fast?
Yes.
I want to, this sounds weird, I want to just pet Kevin.
I just need to know.
You're not the only one. And you mentioned clams, and the mother's going down in foraging and diving. Will you tell us a little bit more about that? Like, how deep do they go? What are they typically looking
they're
for?
honestly pretty shallow divers compared to other marine mammals. They don't tend to hold their breath nearly as long, so they live in usually pretty coastal environments. And they'll dive down. I don't know, Tara, if you have an actual number for general depth.
About 600 feet was the maximum,
Yeah,
but they
that's
only
pretty
stay down for about 5 to 6 minutes.
Yeah.
at
When
a
you
time.
said pretty
Thank you.
shallow divers, I was
That's
thinking...
pretty shallow. That's the deepest that they could.
Deep as ever.
But typically,
That's insane.
yeah, typically they're going to be in much shallow and more coastal
Yeah.
waters, but they can go much further if they need to. I mean, if you visit Sea Otter Coast now, you'll see Chloe hanging out in the shallow side.
Yeah.
How deep is that pool?
I think we're at, I want to say 11
Okay.
feet. When it was old polar bear, it was 14, but then we had to adjust some pipes, and we lost a few feet on the floor. So I want to say it's close to 11. I think it's a little deeper than Manatee Pool.
Okay.
Yeah.
And in their defense, I am, in my mind, comparing them to California sea lions and harbor seals, who, like, our harbor seals can hold their breath for 30 minutes.
Wow, yeah.
Enough
That's
that they'll
incredible,
sleep
yeah.
underwater. So our sea otters, comparatively, really don't dive that much. But yeah, they'll dive down and start to forage for their food items. They like slow-moving food items, so things like squid, shrimp, clam, mussels, crab, abalone, sea urchins. And they'll grab all those food items, and they actually have a modified pocket underneath their arm. It's really just a loose fold of skin, and they'll stuff all those food items in that pocket and come back up to the surface to eat.
It's my favorite fact
That's
I've
incredible.
learned. When I came to see Chloe and Kevin the other day, both Tara and Erin were out, and I heard one of them, they weren't talking to me, I was just listening, like something about, oh yeah, Chloe just keeps picking shrimp or something out of her pocket, and I was like, oh, that's so funny, what are they talking about? And they're like, and then I asked, they're like, no, really, they have a pocket
Yeah.
in their armpit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that makes so much sense, but like, what an
You just stash it
evolutionary
while you're
like
diving.
adaptation.
Yeah.
You just have
Yeah.
a pocket. That is
And
amazing.
it's not like marsupials where it's like a true pocket. It's really just that their skin is really loose because they have to groom every bit of it. They can reach every bit of fur on their entire bodies by themselves. They
like
don't.
they can reach the middle of their back.
Yeah, they don't need
Wow.
another otter to groom them. And so that loose skin is just kind of created folds underneath their arms, and they tend to use one more than the other. Chloe is left-pocketed. From what I have observed, she likes that one better.
Left pocket.
And then wild sea otters will also carry tools around with them. They'll carry rocks around with them, because you can imagine if your diet is mainly things like clams and crabs and sea urchins, you need a way to get into the actual food. You can, I don't know if everyone knows exactly what a sea urchin looks like, but they're these round, spiky animals, and there's not a lot of species that can eat them. They have a pretty good defense, but sea otters have rocks, and they can smash right through all of that. And so that's why they're actually a keystone species for the environments in which they live. There are not animals that can replace them. There's not many animals that can eat as efficiently as a sea otter, nor eat as much as a sea otter. And so when we started to lose sea otters along our coast, California also lost a lot of our kelp forest, because sea urchins' job in the kelp forest is to eat the kelp. They help make room for more kelp to grow and make sure it doesn't get overrun. But if there's no predator like a sea otter to control that population, those sea urchins will overpopulate, and we'll end up with what's called an urchin barren, where you'll have urchins and sand and nothing else left over. The thousands of species that rely on that kelp forest environment will no longer be able to survive there. And so that's why we are so focused on helping these populations recover, because even though they're cute and fun to look at, they are also really critical in ocean environments.
Which I think is also very interesting with the wolf. Like, Tara, you have a lot of tie-ins with the animals that
Yes.
you're taking care of.
I really do.
Yes, predators are so important. And this is a different topic, but when this happens and the sea urchins demolish the kelp forest, how are they surviving if there isn't anything else to eat?
So I don't have as good of an understanding of urchins, but from what I understand, pretty much urchins can go into like kind of like a dormant zombie state, where they'll just kind of sit there but kind of be alive, kind of not be alive.
Hibernation type of thing.
A little bit, yeah. They're not a very
torpor.
complicated animal,
they can
so
go
like I
into
don't know.
food or
There's that much of a difference between an urchin who's not really eating and living and an urchin who is. And then if a food source comes back, they'll just eat it again.
okay. And then the rock thing, I totally get, and I've seen it a million times, in videos of sea otters, but I've never thought about it until you're just talking about how soft they are and how dense their fur is. If they're, like, laying it on their belly, how is there enough, like, you'd think you need a hard surface to put, like, the clam on and then the rock. Like, how does that work?
I mean, their
Or do they,
fur
like,
on their
hit 'em?
chest is pretty thick, so like sometimes they're hitting it directly on their chest.
And it's not too much give? Like, I would worry it'd be too, like, soft. Like,
It seems to work.
Clearly works out.
dumb question.
So like,
yeah,
yeah, sometimes it'll be like the food items on their chest and they hit that with the rock, or the rock's on their chest and they hit the food item on that. You guys will definitely see Chloe and Kevin on the exhibit. They've gotten some really fun enrichment items.
Yeah, Kevin's definitely already gone around and tried all of the toys on a lot of them, and Chloe took that squid for a ride along the window wall the other day, which didn't need any help breaking open, but
No,
she just wanted to make
just in
sure.
case. Gotta hit stuff on stuff.
I wanted to ask how like the transition's gone. Like, are sea otters a species that it takes them a while to settle in, or do they seem like they're already pretty comfortable here? Like, you've obviously been with them through the journey, so what's that been like seeing the transition?
It's been really smooth. It's not always this smooth. They have adapted really well. In their transport, usually the things we're looking at are what's the quality of their fur. They are usually transported in a kennel that's like full of ice so they can stay cool. And sometimes if they don't do a good job grooming themselves, they can get wet patches, which can lead to them getting cold very quickly. And Chloe and Kevin kept their fur perfect.
Even Kevin.
Yeah, I know. I was really proud of him because sometimes he looks like a wet rat, but he kept himself nice and fluffy. And they honestly, the second night they were here, they went out on the exhibit, and they had a great old time. There was rain, there was thunder, there was lightning, and they loved it. There were leaves. Yeah, that was Kevin's first time getting a leaf. That was fun.
Well, there's gonna be plenty of them around here.
Yeah, and snow.
That's what I am most excited
so
about.
We're really excited. I guess I'm finally excited for a Cincinnati winter. Only for the otters and the bears.
Yeah. Were they living together before they came here, and were they with other otters too?
Yeah, so they've known each other since Kevin joined our population, and we change up our social dynamics pretty often, which I think has helped make them pretty resilient to change, because they'll go into, like, be on our main habitat or our holding areas, or we have additional areas that are behind the scenes that they'll go live in, and so our social dynamics change a lot, so they're used to things being switched up on them.
Are they changing because sometimes you have releasable animals, or are they changing because it's like a fission fusion thing?
Yeah, it just kind of depends on what the needs of the program are. So if we have otters behind the scenes that need assistance from another otter, then an animal might be back there for a little bit helping that pup learn everything it needs, or they'll be on our exhibit. Or just to make sure that it stays variable, they'll hang out in the holding area that's attached to their exhibit and kind of keep things different and interesting. And that way we can provide different types of enrichment, different physical habitats. And it makes them pretty resilient otters, which is nice to see.
Yeah, and super important, especially if, you know, they are non-releasable and they are going to be an ambassador at a zoo. Having them be resilient is really important. And you mentioned, Tara, earlier that it's our first saltwater habitat here. And I don't know if you've mentioned, why is that so important? It made me think of it when you said the ice, and I know they have to stay in salt water. Can you tell us a little bit about that and like why it's important for them?
Yeah, I honestly, it's just what's natural for them. Like, obviously the ice that they lay in is freshwater, so like temporary exposure to freshwater isn't going to harm them.
Okay.
But that's what their coats were designed for, is living in the ocean.
If it was something about buoyancy for the babies, or what if it affected their fur? Or...
Yeah, I'm sure buoyancy, they're definitely, they are very buoyant animals. They are very good at floating. But you can also find them in like estuaries and places like that.
Okay.
But mainly saltwater. One of my favorite things about them is, like, if it's an otter in a kelp forest, there are otters that will never go on land in their entire lives. Wow. They will spend the entire time out in the ocean.
I guess I've never, why would they go on land?
Yeah their food items are in the water,
That's incredible. Do Kevin and Chloe have any, like, favorite enrichment items, it seems, yet, or their favorite toys, or is everything still so new to them right now where it's like, whatever they get, they'll take it?
They're pretty equal opportunity with just... They're very tactile animals. They like touching stuff. They like hitting stuff. So usually if you provide something, they're going to interact with it to a certain extent. Their favorites tend to be ones where they kind of get to solve a puzzle to get food, which is very natural for a sea otter. Like, it's natural to hit something and have food fall out of it. And so that's usually what they're looking for. And so a lot of their enrichment items mimic that, or there's some incredible, like, imitation kelp that is provided that they'll wrap themselves in. Ice is really a big one. I do think they're going to really enjoy snow. Sometimes that's like crushed ice that they lay in and eat, or sometimes it's like huge blocks of ice that, like, is food items frozen in it. It's like a slow feeder for them that they have to break to get to the food on the inside.
Oh, you're going to have so much fun enriching
them. It's the best part of working with sea otters, and it's really easy because the goal of enrichment is to have them display natural behaviors, and for sea otters it's really easy to get those natural behaviors displayed.
Exciting.
Do you have to worry about them? You know, some animals will eat things that they shouldn't. If you're giving them these toys, are there certain parameters that you have to follow, or are they pretty good about?
They have to be really tough toys, but not so much. Sea otters are pretty good about not ingesting foreign objects, which is great. If you think about it, they carry rocks around with them. You know, they're used to having this one's food, this one's not. Even like tiny bits of shell, they'll just play with and hit with stuff, but they don't really have interest in ingesting it. But really what we're looking at when deciding what is safe for a sea otter is how long is this item going to last?
Yes, durability.
And, will they be able to smash it to pieces? And then I have pieces of this toy that I need to figure out how to collect.
And I'm wondering how long the view for everyone with the glass out there, if they start using that as something to smash.
Oh, the
They
glass.
can't
I
give the
didn't think
hippos
about
any
that,
of their big toys outside because it would just get smashed against the glass and would scratch and you wouldn't be able to see it all. So hopefully they'll behave and they use the floor or the ground.
We'll see how long it lasts.
Chloe has a fun habit that she has not shown here, and hopefully she won't. But in her exhibit at the aquarium, she'd like to take little bits of shrimp shell and just put her paws up on the glass on the acrylic and just kind of like, it was like a wax on, wax off motion.
With shrimp.
And she would just like smear it along our windows. And just for a purpose I never understood.
And just with shrimp.
If she had a clamshell, sometimes we usually didn't give them the clamshells on our exhibit because they would smash them on our acrylic.
Yes, okay.
But if they smuggled one out of our holding area.
In their pocket.
They carried it out.
How am I going to check?
You can't get in trouble for that.
Taking out contraband.
It's truly contraband. And that would be her preferential use to scratch up our windows if given the option. But Chloe in her pocket is one of my favorite things. She has very deep pockets, and she's a really smart animal. And so sometimes in training sessions, you'll feed her she'll do something really good, so you'll give her like a handful of her food, and she'll put it in her pocket, and she'll eat it, and she'll come back over to you like she's finished it and is ready for the next behavior. And then depending on what you ask, if it's something she doesn't feel like doing, she like pulls a shrimp out of nowhere. And she's just like, I'm actually not done eating. Give me a minute.
I already got this. I don't need
You're like, I actually don't need you at all.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. That was going to be one of my next questions is, they're smart, they're food motivated. What kind of training do they do?
Yeah, so it kind of depends on the program you want. They are incredibly intelligent animals, and at times in training programs have learned how to do like voluntary bloods and ultrasounds and kind of anything that a lot of zoo and aquarium animals can learn.
Is that extra tricky with their fur? Ultrasounds or blood draws?
Yeah.
No, it's our vets have a pretty good strategy and haven't had any issues for in our program. For a lot of it, we would actually train just voluntary collection for them, so they would learn to voluntarily go into a kennel or voluntarily go into a net. We would train them to net, so we would put the net down in the water, and otters love a small closed space, and net is one of their favorite behaviors in the world.
They live in the ocean and they enjoy it.
I know. It's a little bit, yeah. But usually the issue with our net training is not getting them to go in it, it's getting them to give us our net back.
Wow.
And I remember one time I was training, this was 944 again, I was training her, it was 937. We have a lot of numbers of rescue numbers. And I was training her net behavior, and I asked her in it, and she just swam down to the bottom and surfaced, just sitting in this net eating her shrimp. And I was like, I guess you like it.
Yeah.
That's good. But that way, with an animal that can be unpredictable and is very strong and has very sharp teeth, we can have them in something like a net and then like safely do sedation or restrain them if we need to. And that really reduces the stress on that animal. So that's usually how our program has focused on things. But they also have a whole new opportunity here that might look a little bit differently.
Yeah. I think we're going to be focusing on a lot of the medical behaviors that we would like to see, things that will make all of their treatments more voluntary, more smooth, less stressful, but then we'd like to do a lot of fun behaviors. Chloe has a really exciting behavior right now for us while she helps us clean the pool, is she has a retrieval or a find behavior. So you can ask her and she'll bring up a toy for you, which saves me the trouble of netting it out of the pool.
Okay, explain
That's incredible.
that. Like you can just point to an object and she knows to go get that one.
Erin, take it
like,
away.
Yeah,
You train it with her.
it's pretty much you just like the cue for it is kind of like a hand slashing down to the water. You say find, and the criteria for it is she should search around until she finds an object to bring you.
So if you had 10 in the pool, you wouldn't necessarily get the one
Correct.
object you wanted.
She's
But
gonna
she'll bring you
go-
something.
She's gonna bring us something,
Yeah.
and it should she'll get more food if she brings us a toy, but technically if she brings me a tiny bit of shrimp shell, she's still right.
Yeah.
And then you have this giant otter paws and this tiny shrimp shell like reaching out of the water to try and hand it to you. Or my favorite Chloe quirk is squid does not tend to be her favorite food. And I have absolutely given her a squid before, and she's just handed it right back to me. Oh my gosh! She's like throwing it on her chest. She's like, no.
Give me something else.
I need them in my life right now.
They're really fun. But yeah, that retrieval behavior is really helpful because they get a lot of enrichment.
Yeah.
Multiple
and I didn't
times
think about
a
it going to
day.
the bottom half the time. So.
Yeah, and we will have divers that regularly help service our habitat, but right now, while they're acclimating and they're adjusting, you know, it's been really helpful to have Chloe helping the keepers out.
Yeah. It's like having a toddler at home that is just old
when
enough
you teach them to
like,
do chores,
yeah.
like if you're good, you can dust the living room.
Yeah.
I had a babysitter do that to me. It worked.
It worked.
Yeah, I was like, ooh, if I'm good, I can dust.
That's too funny.
So funny. So you mentioned Chloe doesn't love squid. Does Kevin have any snacks he doesn't prefer, or do they have favorites?
Squid tends to also not be nearly none of the otter's favorite food,
Okay.
but they will absolutely eat it. Like once they've finished all the shrimp and clam, they'll go and eat all their squid. But shrimp, in my experience, tends to be the favorite.
Okay.
That's usually what they'll go for first. But they also love things like blended up clam frozen, a clam smoothie.
Okay.
They love that.
Okay.
That is very popular, which means you can make some really cute enrichment.
It's like you put it in a cup and they'll
Yeah.
drink it like
So that would be very cute. I did once put it in like a toy that had kind of a space in the bottom and put it next to Kevin, and he just was dipping his paw in it, licking it
Oh
off
my
his
God.
paw. But the most fun is when you freeze it, because then
Oh,
you can
and
freeze
do
it in
shapes.
fun, like different molds and give them
Okay.
different
We
things.
have so many molds ready to go.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It is a gross process, but they really
Yeah.
like some blended up clam.
Yeah,
That's
working with
awesome.
seafood would be the turn off for, and well, yeah, just
Yeah.
the smell in the hands.
Do they eat much fish, or is it mostly just like clam, shrimp, like mollusks, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so their main diet items are those, and then southern sea otters don't tend to eat fish very
Okay.
often, but it has been observed more often in northern sea otters, which are the ones that are still up in that kind of Washington, Alaska area. But fish tends to be a lot faster and a lot more difficult to get, and because they need all that energy to stay warm, usually they choose the items that are a little bit easier to just grab.
That makes total sense. You guys did mention the northern and how they're bigger.
Mm-hmm.
What is their population like? Are they endangered, and what is their range?
Their population is doing, they were never reduced to the numbers that the
Okay.
Southerns were. They were definitely reduced with the fur trade, but their populations are doing pretty well. There are some parts of them that are not doing as well. Some of that's due to like climate change with food items changing and not having enough resources. Some of that's due to human impact on their environment. So sea otters are listed on the endangered species list. I think they're listed as of concern right now. But it's really the southerns that have had the most impact
Okay.
on them.
That's interesting. And you did mention historically they were found from like Baja Peninsula all the way up to Alaska. So for us in Cincinnati, you know, for people that have lived here, you can run the gamut of weather in the span of like 2 weeks. You can go from 80 degrees to 20 degrees, no problem. So does that mean our sea otters, they're going to be able to be out year round, or is there a certain time of year where they're not going to be able to go outside?
As long as their water is cold, they should be good to be around any time of the year. I think you guys said that you're gonna just let it get as cold as it wants in the winter, and then in the summer make sure it stays around probably like between 50 and 60 degrees.
Yeah, we're aiming for 55. That's our, which will be really fun.
Nice and
to
cool,
dive.
yeah.
Yeah. Catch us all in our dry suits.
Yes, it is cold.
They are so amazing. Are there any other like facts or sea otter, personally to Chloe or Kevin, like quirks you've mentioned? Like those stories are always so fun to hear.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that comes to mind?
Kevin really likes attention. I think is one of my favorite things about him, and he will work to get it. Sometimes there would be times where, like I talked about how we'll have our otters separated on our exhibit in our holding area, and if we're not working with anyone, he's totally fine doing his own thing, but the second he hears us working with the other otters, he's at that gate just yelling, being like, I exist too. I know
so
you.
vocal.
Yeah, like, you fed me 5 minutes ago, but that was 5 minutes ago, and now you're feeding these otters, and that's unfair. So I think he has a lot of fun quirks.
Yeah. I never imagined what they sounded like or their vocalizations till we got to shadow you at the Aquarium of the Pacific. And then you would hear these squeaks and noises, and you're like, what is this coming from? And it's the otters. And I always thought, like, Wesley, our river otter, he squeaks and he honks, and I'm like, you're just vocal and noisy. And I'm like, okay, maybe Sugar's just quiet, and the rest of the otters,
they're normal. Wesley's actually normal.
Yeah, Wesley's the normal one.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, you guys are vocal.
What differences do you see from the North American river otters and the sea otter so far as, like, temperament or...
Yeah, oh my gosh, I would say... Temperament-wise, the sea otters are much faster pace. They take reinforcement very quickly during training, and just because they're aquatic and they're so more aquatic, they seem a little bit more fluid, and they seem more ready to go on their hunger cues. Sugar and Wesley, they're kind of a little bit like, oh, we kind of know our schedule right now, so we know what to expect. But they stay still a lot more than the sea otters do. And I think a lot of that is just I can train them on land, and I don't have to worry about the fluidity. And but it's really cool to see how much they actually do have in common, but then how different as of species they are.
I was really excited and interested to see that you guys are able to go in safely with the sea otters, and I think you guys do it a little bit with...
Yep, we have started free contact with the river otters.
Do you have to be more careful with the river otters?
I don't want to say more careful, because it's like the same principles of you're going to need that awareness and knowing where your exits are and how to read the behavior and have respect for the animal. I think the sea otters pose a more challenge of being around water and being around the pools and making sure that we have safe exits and we don't make any mishaps that we slip into their habitat. With that being said, if the river otters were running after me, they'd catch me a lot quicker than the sea otters. So, it just depends on the location, but we have been working back to get free contact, training with this river otters. We got about 3 people on the team that do it now, and it's really exciting to see how far they've come. But
because you can do so much more training, you have more opportunities, but also I just didn't know if there was a reason for managing different species of otters differently. And I was also really interested to see how active the sea otters were, and I didn't know if it was because they were excited and they're in this brand new place that they have so much to explore, or is that common that they're...
That's honestly pretty standard.
Okay.
Honestly, they've been a little bit less active than they were. Like, I think you guys see as they get more comfortable, they're going to be all over the place.
Wow, that's so fun.
Kevin has seemed a little more docile being here. Like, he's just like, oh, okay, I'm like, maybe I'm on vacation mode, and he just hasn't set in that this is home yet.
A very confident Kevin is all over the place.
They're just very high energy. I mean, all otters are, but I feel like sea otters are like the epitome of that high energy.
Okay.
And when people go to see them, what you're mostly going to see them doing is grooming their fur, which involves spinning in a circle and do kind of just like rolling around and
it's like
really,
flailing.
Never really sitting still unless they are asleep.
Yeah.
Are they diurnal, or do they sleep just randomly throughout the day?
Yeah, they'll nap throughout the day for the most part.
That's so funny that you say that river otters are slower and less active, because I go and see the river otters and I'm like, they're lightning fast. I can't keep track of them.
That just shows how much sea otters are really active, because Sugar and Wesley, and river otters in general, they are very high energy as well, but like when I go from them to the seas, I'm like, all right, I gotta pick it up a pace at the sea otters a little bit. Sugar and Wesley too, they're used to the rhythm now.
I think I was mostly surprised because in a lot of, just little clips of documentaries or things you see of sea otters. I was so lucky to see sea otters in the wild. I went to Monterey Bay and was kayaking, and like you hardly noticed them because they were floating in their raft. A group of sea otters. It's one of my favorite facts. It's called a raft. And you see them kind of just resting and sleeping and on their backs, and so I think that surprised me. That I don't know, maybe I just haven't seen the right videos.
Yeah, they're really either...
Or they're underwater, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. I think they're foraging, and that's where all that energy is happening, or they're grooming and sleeping. Okay. That's really how a sea otter spends their day. But yeah, they will rest when they need to, but they're pretty much always ready to, like, if you have a sea otter sleeping and you bring in food or something new, they are awake and ready to go.
Which, not true for river otters in the slightest. Sugar's like, come back in 2 hours. But
needs her beauty sleep.
And to the grooming points of observing Chloe on Habitat and seeing her, like, our river otters will groom, but they don't have to groom near as much as the sea otters do. It's not of the same value, so it's not the same, like, amount of time consumption that they have. They still groom. and we'll still look for similar issues in the coats, but the sea otters, that's top priority. So,
Okay.
yeah, that's another big difference.
That's interesting. I'm sure Kevin and Chloe are going to become fan favorites here really quickly. Like, I'm excited for all of our members to see them. We've got such a good community here at Cincinnati Zoo. I'm excited for everyone to get out and see them. I'm sure it's a little bit bittersweet for you. Whenever you're sending an animal to a new place, even when it's a good place to live, it's always sad. So
Yeah, I do still get requests to smuggle her back. More requests for Chloe than for Kevin, but that's not his fault. She's been around a lot longer.
Terry, you're going to need to keep an eye on her.
Yeah, I know. When she leaves tomorrow, it's like, wait, I'm missing a sea otter.
But no, it is really exciting. This is going to be an incredible place for them to get to live and get to have new people who may not have ever gotten the chance to see a sea otter, see what they look like and how incredible they are and how important they are for our ecosystems.
I do have one more question. What's the breeding situation? Do zoos with sea otters or aquariums with sea otters ever have breeding programs? Do we have, I don't know if Chloe's past like post-reproductive or if she needs to be on birth control or there's spay and neutering and on, like, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so there is currently no breeding of sea otters under human care.
Okay.
And that is partly due to their listing on the Endangered Species Act, the Marine Mammal Protection Act and all the laws that go into that. But also just because that's not what their wild populations need. So there will not be breeding between Kevin and Chloe because Kevin is neutered.
Okay.
And usually males who are not going to be released are neutered.
Okay.
Because that also makes them easier to have under human care. Male sea otters are incredibly territorial and can be very aggressive. I can't remember if I said it already, but sea otters are part of the mustelid family. And that includes animals like ferrets, weasels, wolverines, badgers. And those animals all have a very specific reputation that due to sea otters looking very cute, they don't get that reputation, but they do deserve that reputation.
They've earned it.
And so there won't be reproducing between them because the wild populations, like we're talking about these orphaned stranded sea otter pups, they need places to be rehabilitated and to, if they are non-releasable, live the rest of their lives somewhere safely, and so it just wouldn't be within the interest of the program.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not like we need to breed them at zoos necessarily. We need to help rescue the ones from the wild that need it. That makes sense. I didn't think about that, but
Maybe
that makes
place more protections and
Just
climate
like the
change
manatee
and all the
program.
things. Okay, interesting. Did you have any other questions?
I've got nothing. No, we really appreciate your time for us.
Yeah, I learned so much, and
Yeah.
I already love them, and now I love them even more. Did you have trivia today?
I do not have
No
trivia.
Okay.
I skipped out this week. I was like, I don't know how much time we're gonna have with Erin, so I wanted to respect your time. Yeah.
So, is there anything else we missed before we ask our final question that you guys want to touch on, or?
I don't think so. Yeah.
No, I just want to say a big thanks to Erin and all of the staff at Aquarium of the Pacific for all of the collaboration and time that they have spent in helping us prepare for Kevin and Chloe. We really couldn't have done it without them, figuratively and literally, but they have given us so much incredible experience, knowledge, and really prepared us for this journey, and we're super glad for the professional relationships we've made, and we're happy to give them a good home, and we'll send you all of the pictures always.
My biggest request is videos of Chloe in the snow.
Yes.
That's what I want. No, we are so happy to do it.
So exciting. Okay, well, thank you again. This has been so fun. The final question is, what can I do? How can I be a better steward of the earth? How could I potentially help sea otters? What can I do?
Yeah, that's a really important question. So coming from California, where our oceans are very important to us, one of the things that we always think about is how to eat seafood sustainably. That has a big impact on not just sea otters, but all marine mammal species. And so there's some different resources that you can find online, including Seafood Watch, which is an app created by the Monterey Bay Aquarium that helps you kind of compare different seafood species and figure out what is currently being sustainably fished so that we don't have such an impact on those wild fisheries and are able to get our own seafood, but also leave enough for those marine mammal populations.
That's perfect. That's easy enough. You can get an app or you can look online for all different sorts of resources. And do you know, this is an extra question, you may not, I don't expect you to know the answer, but are there any new laws or things happening to, you just hear recently about like orcas starving because there aren't enough salmon or the right fish to eat. Are there more or new things happening?
There's kind of always different things happening, and it can, some of it's federal, but a lot of it's at the state level. So California has like a lot of marine protected areas where you cannot fish, you cannot collect mussels or clams or anything like that. You have to leave everything exactly the way you found it, and that helps those areas remain healthy. So that's a big part of it. But other than that, there's just kind of ongoing efforts. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it seems like sea life needs all the help and all the protections it can get. So we can only hope things move in that direction for sure. But Seafood Watch, I'm going to have to download that app because I didn't know about it. So I'm going to have to take that advice myself. Yeah.
There's one of my favorite things is that there's been a lot of rebranding of seafood. I can't tell you the current sustainability of this product, but I know there's a fish called the Patagonian toothfish. That was a really good option for people to eat, but no one wants to eat something called the Patagonian toothfish. And so if you ever eat Chilean sea bass, you are actually eating the Patagonian toothfish.
No.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Nice rebrand there, a sea bass.
Yeah, it makes it a lot better.
That just says so much about what our brains will tell us. Like,
What matters.
and yes, what matters, and that's so smart that somebody thought about that. And they're like, okay, it gets a new name, and everyone just accepts that. And I think about it all the time because we have tilapia in with our hippos, and people will come and see the tilapia, and they'll be like, what kind of fish are those? And I'll say, oh, those are tilapia, and they help keep the exhibit clean. They eat hippo dung and like dead skin cells and algae off the rockwork. And then suddenly those people no longer eat tilapia, and they're like,
that's
oh,
the first
I'm never
response I
eating
get.
tilapia
Yeah.
again. And I'm like, well, all fish, or not all fish, but a lot of fish are like eating all sorts of things.
Bottom feeders.
Bottom feeders,
Yeah.
all sorts of things
That's
like
how a
poop
food chain
and
works.
and you're not eating their digestive system, so you're okay. But yes, it's very interesting. Once you hear a little bit more, or you change their name, it can change somebody's thoughts on it. But well, thank you very much. We hope all of our listeners have a great week, and thank you, ladies, for joining us.
Thank you
thanks
so
for
much.
joining us.
Of
And
course.
just wanted to plug really quick, if you're ever in California, Aquarium of the Pacific's in Long Beach, right?
Yes, Long Beach, California.
If you ever find yourself out there, go visit. You can see where Chloe and Kevin came from. So definitely worth it.
It's a beautiful aquarium, so definitely visit it.
Well, thank you all so much for your time, and thanks to all you listeners for tuning in to another episode. Hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. Take care.